Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we are going to be looking at the last of the Leatherman Juice models in my collection. This is the Leatherman Juice XE6. The XE6 it kind of combines all of the other tools from all of the Juice models into one, with the exception of the SX. The SX has a hex driver that is not included in the XE6, but for the most part, all of those tools are going to be implemented into one. Let's go over the specs of this guy first, and then we'll get into all the different features and functions of the XE6. The overall weight on this particular multi-tool is going to be 194 grams. That's about 6.9 ounces, somewhere in that neighborhood. Overall length is just like all the other Juice models, is going to be 3¼ inches long, or about 82.5 millimeters, 1¼ wide, or about 32 millimeters. Where it differs is in the thickness. The thickness of this one is the largest of the Juice series of multi-tools. This one is 7/8 of an inch thick. So it kind of lends it not to be so much pocket carryable, and that's why they have an included pouch. So 7/8 of an inch thick, or about 22 millimeters. The pouch that comes with it is actually pretty nice. Now, unfortunately, Leatherman has discontinued the Juice line, and hopefully they are going to be adding or coming up with a new tool that's going to kind of fill this niche, because what makes the Juice model so great is that in places where knife laws are a little bit more stringent, this has a non-locking blade, and the length of it kind of helps people in Europe to get around those knife laws. Now, fortunately for us here in the US, we are not restricted by those knife laws, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But let's move on to all of the different tools in the XE6. We'll start out with a knife blade, because usually that's the most important thing that people are looking at. Now, this knife blade, as I mentioned before, kind of gets around those knife laws that were in countries where they're a little bit more stringent. So all slip lock components, or slip joint, I'm sorry, no locking tools on this. But the slip joint on all the Juice models is pretty good. You really got to kind of kick it over. I mean, they put a really good joint on all of the Juice model tools and implements. So the blade on this one is a 420HC. It's going to be 1 5/16 inches long. That's going to be true of this blade as well as the serrated blade that we'll look at a little bit later. Now, this is the second generation of the Juice series. The first generation, this model would have been the Leatherman Juice Pro, which unfortunately I don't have one of those. But the Leatherman Juice Pro had a longer blade on it. You'll notice that when this is closed up, they left, there's probably about 3/8 of an inch there that they could have made that blade just a little bit longer. But again, this is to kind of get around those more stringent knife laws, and for that reason, it's really unfortunate that they're discontinuing this line. The next tool that we'll look at is the awl. Now, the Juice awl is not the greatest awl. They have a little break on it, which makes it a little bit stronger, because they don't use a very thick material here. So they add this break in there to give it a little bit more strength. Now, it does include a sewing eyelet, and it does include a reamer. The point is decently sharp, but it's not going to be on par to what you're going to get on something like a Leatherman rebar, as an example. Now, to remove the next tool, you have to have the awl open, because that break will it covers the saw blade. So you can't pull the saw blade out unless you have the awl open. It's an extra step that you have to take in order to get that out, but it's not too bad. So the next one that we're talking about is obviously the saw. We'll close that one back up. Now, the saw on here, it's not going to be as robust as something like you're going to get in a Wave. Of course, this is a much smaller tool than something like the Wave is as well. But the saw blade is very good, cuts in both directions, has that tapered back to facilitate getting through whatever wood or material that you're cutting very easily. And Leatherman makes a pretty good saw. In fact, in my personal opinion, I think they're just a touch better than Victorinox. Victorinox wins in other areas, but I really think that Leatherman makes just a touch better saw. Now, one of the most important tools that you find on these Juice series tools, and what makes the S2 so popular, is because it incorporates these same scissors. Scissors are very important. Now, these scissors are really pretty good. They do a pretty good job of cutting. I don't have a lot of material here, but I got a little piece of 550 paracord, and you can see it gets through that without any trouble. So the Juice series of scissors are actually really, really good. Then if we go to the other side, the first one we're going to look at is that serrated blade that we talked about. Serrated blade are awesome for cutting through man-made material, so rope and fabrics and just all kinds of stuff. I use a serrated blade on just when I'm working, probably 2 or 3 times a day. When I'm away from work, I probably use it maybe once a week. It just depends. Now, they do have a little bit of draw cut capability at the very front of that blade. That's really good for opening up boxes and stuff. You get more control cutting through tape and stuff instead of and also it saves your main blade. That's one of the big reasons why I like having a separate blade on my multi-tool. The next tool is the file, and I like the file on here. This is, apart from the Wave Charge Surge series, I think this is the only one where they add a diamond file. They used to in the Blast, if I'm not mistaken, in that line of tools, but they've gotten away from that. And so the Juice series, when they do have a file, they will incorporate a diamond file. I like this diamond file a lot. It first has the crosscut pattern on this side for wood and metal, and then it has edge file, and then it has the diamond file. I like the diamond file on here for a number of different reasons. First of all, because I work with metal a lot. Diamond files are great for fine tuning or fine filing on metal components. This also works really well because of this kind of size of tool. Now this one's a little bit bigger than the other Juice models, but I like that kind of file in one of these tools because I think these smaller tools should have the ability to have some personal care stuff, and this is great for like fingernail filing. The next tool is well, first of all, this one has a couple separate functions. This is going to be your can opener. Now this is not the greatest of can openers, and it's not the greatest of bottle openers. It will do both, but it doesn't do both well. That's kind of one of my only criticisms of the Juice series. But the reason that they put this particular type in there is because it also has another function. It is your lever bar for using your corkscrew. So whenever you want to open up a bottle of wine, you will open it up, you will screw your corkscrew into the wine bottle, and then you can lean it over. And then this portion, you would lean it over this way. This bar will sit on the lip of your wine bottle, and then you have a pry point so you can pull that cork up out of there without, in Victorinox knives, they don't have that. The only way you can do it is to just with brute force pull it out. But this one has that lever bar, and you see more and more multi-tools when they have a corkscrew in them that are kind of stealing Leatherman's design with this and adding in that lever bar. So I like that about it. I don't drink wine, but for those who need the corkscrew, that's very, very good feature to have. Now, one thing that the Juice series of tools has over something like a Victorinox tool, and because these are kind of made to compete against Victorinox knives, and for the most part, Victorinox knives are going to have overall better tool sets than what you're going to get in the Juice series. But one thing that they are not going to be able to do is they have nowhere near the pliers that a Juice series does. These are kind of medium duty pliers, but they really, really work well. I have used in other videos where we'll cut hardwire with these. We'll cut like a coat hanger, and they just go through it like it's nothing. They're really kind of impressive considering the size of these pliers. And for wire cutting, they do a fantastic job as well. And I have cut 10 gauge on these. They'll just cut through just about anything light duty stuff that you'll ever want to do. They incorporate a nice set of needle nose with a pretty decent point on them. The regular pliers, wire cutters, and hard wire cutters. And the action on the Juice series, and I don't know why on the Juice series that's so much smoother than some of the other multi-tools that Leatherman puts out, but I've always noticed that the Juice series of tools has fantastic action on their pliers. Now, they're not spring-loaded pliers, but they're super smooth to operate. And now the last tools are on the interior. We have on this side 3 different drivers, flat drivers. So you'll have your 1/4 inch, your 3/16, and then your 1/8 inch. This particular one, now the downside to this is none of them have an incredible amount of length to them, but they will get you, out of those little pinches that you get into, and you definitely need a screwdriver, and they work quite well. Even this little 1/4 inch will kind of work like a pry tool. Now it's not as robust as some of the other multi-tools, but then again, this tool is not made to be as robust as those other tools. What I do like about it is this little driver. And the reason I like this one is because this makes an excellent punch down tool on the back of outlets that have, that have a, where you need to push it in order to pull the electrical wire in and out, or to seat it. This is a great little tool for that. It works fantastic for that particular, it's almost like it's sized for it. And then on the other side, we have the last two tools. The lanyard ring is very difficult to get out of there. And I haven't pulled it out on the other tools, but I'm gonna pull it out on this one. I have to get a little screwdriver in order to get it out of there because it's really tough. But you can see that lanyard ring is quite difficult to get out of there. But once you have it out, then you have the ability to put a lanyard on your multi-tool, which is really nice. The screwdriver on this is really good too, the Phillips driver. This is a combination number 1, number 2. Again, it's not very long, but it is built quite well. And I've never had a problem anytime I've ever wanted to use the juice screwdriver, apart from screws that are recessed very deeply. It won't work well on that. So the screwdriver on here is pretty good though. But the Juice series of tools, what really sells them over Victorinox is the fact that they're plier based, where Victorinox are more knife based and incorporate different implements. Now, I love Victorinox tools and I think they're fantastic, but for people that want something a little smaller but still want a plier based tool, the Juice series I think is definitely the way to go, because Victorinox little pliers in their knives they're just horrendous. They will not do what this one will. I like this tool. I really like the fact that they include this sheath with it. I think this is a fantastic sheath in button closure, leather, black leather with stretch on, it stretches on the sides, and it's just really, really well built little case for this thing. Unfortunately, like we mentioned, this is a discontinued item, and hopefully we will be seeing the Juice line revamped at some point, because I think it's a real shame that Leatherman is getting away from this particular type of tool. I think the Leatherman Juice XE6 is a great tool. It's not what I would consider pocket carry, because it's just really thick. It's like getting into those 5 and 6 layer Victorinox knives. They're just really too bulky to carry in the pocket. I really like a 2 and 3 layer from Victorinox, sometimes as much as a 4 layer, depending on what particular knife it is. But this one is a really, really good choice for those who want something a little smaller, a little more sleek than carrying a Leatherman Wave or a Reball or Surge, or any number of other multi-tools that are in larger frame. This has been a look at the Leatherman Juice XE6. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, and I will see you next time.